better life, you know. It's absolutely incredible for one port. And it also represented 40% of the whole world's trade, Liverpool, back then. Unbelievable for one port. So this is the Port of Liverpool building you can see to your left. This is the home of the Mersey Docks and Harbour Board. It was built in 1907. And just here, this black building to your left is Dan Baker's holiday home, of course. Skillfully designed to blend in with its surroundings. Does look like a giant coffee room. This is the Museum of Liverpool, you see just on the corner there. That's got over 800 years of history. Totally free to go in, as is all the other museums in Liverpool. And very fascinating place it is too, totally free to go in. So, looks like we've got some more passengers here. We've got enough seats. Oh, right. I was going to say, if you haven't got enough seats, you know, there's plenty of room on the roof. You're off now, are you? Off on your voyage? Oh, right. Okay. You're going back to your cruise? Yeah, okay. Have a nice time anyway. We'll probably catch you later if you're staying here tomorrow. Right, okay. Have a good time? Yeah, you want it? Okay. Have a nice time. Just to let you know, we've got a little red tip hat at the bottom there, so if you feel free to, you know, drop off anything. Yeah. We usually have a laundry basket, but you don't have to put any of your clothes in it. Yeah. So this is the Mersey ferries you can see just to your left there. The Mersey ferries, of course, was immortalised by that wonderful song. Ferry, cross the Mersey, go on, 'cause this land's the place I love, and here I'll stay. And everybody remains silent. And they all look at me as much as to say, if you're staying, mate, I'm going. Yeah. So you will be pleased to know that Jerry is getting the recognition that he deserves, because he is going to be called the Jerry Marsden Ferries from this summer onward. It's about time as well. I've been waiting since 1965. Paul Sol died last year as well, but at least his family will benefit from it. So, did my singing attract you? Did you hear me singing? Is that why you bought your ticket? Yeah, I'm only kidding. Nice to have you on board anyway. You brought the fountain. Brilliant, brilliant. Yeah, more the merrier. Great. Hello, sir. You okay? I'm Jim, your tour guide. Any questions, feel free to ask later on. Hello there. You okay? Is it my singing that got you on board, or is it just a coincidence? Nice to have you on board. Right. We've got another deck just above this one. It's called the roof. Yeah. Alright, hang on, we haven't sat down yet. Can you all fasten your seatbelts, please, when you sat down, like? Yeah, fasten your seatbelts. That's why we call it a free ride, because you can go anywhere. Hey! That's the Beatles statue that you saw in the front there as well. That's our most recent statue to the Beatles. It was unveiled on December the 5th, 2015. To commemorate exactly 50 years to the day that the Beatles had played Liverpool. That was at the Empire Theatre all those years ago in 1965. Last time lads ever played Liverpool, our home city. So now we're going back to the Dock Road. And as I was explaining to the people on the bus earlier on, this is the original shoreline to the River Mersey. So the river would come right up to here. There was no such thing as the docks in those days, back in the early 1700s. All this was all reclaimed land, basically, all this. You know, the docks have appeared here before, since then. So you have the Port of Liverpool building, which was built in 1907, just to our right, just slightly back from the bus now. To your left is the Cunard building, that was built in 1916. Right on the end, last but not least, as they say, is our wonderful Royal Liver buildings. Of course, a lot of you will already be familiar with that, because our liver birds at the top there. The liver birds are actually, I know you probably haven't seen them yet, but you've probably seen them loads of times on different trademarks of Liverpool and all that. The liver birds are actually a cross between a cormorant and a white-tailed eagle. And the story goes that an unknown artist came down to the shoreline, or what was the shoreline, which would have been here, and he saw a cormorant sitting on a rock, and he started drawing it, and then he suddenly remembered, oh, I'm supposed to be drawing a white-tailed eagle here. So he took it back to his boss and he said, what about that? His boss said, yeah. And he accepted it. And we've had our Liver Bird ever since. So it's actually a cross between the cormorant and the white-tailed eagle. It sits right up there on top of the Liver buildings, of course. Now, when the Liver buildings were built back in 1911, there was nothing quite like them on these shores because they were actually fashioned on a New York skyscraper, and they were the tallest. That was the tallest commercial structure in the whole of Europe when it was first built. Not even the tallest building. They held down the steel cables because the old legend said if the Liver birds ever flew away, Liverpool had ceased to exist. So we like to keep our birds tied down. We need tied down as well. Just ahead on the right hand side is Our Lady of St. Nicholas in Church. 1811 that was built. Got Jimmy, recyclable plastic donkey outside it. Jimmy, but I'm not recycled it. On the donkey around it. And over here, over to our right, is the wartime base called Western Approaches. So there's a big shh on the side of the wall, and that's because it's a secret wartime base. And Commander Max Morton used to be in charge of all the strategic operations during World War II. And it is a permanent museum now to World War II. You go down some steps, about 70 steps, and it leads you to a network of corridors, a load of offices with maps and war books. It's a fascinating place, totally preserved. So this is Exchange Station, you can see to your left here. This is a very old station. It dates all the way back to 1870. It's actually a business now. This is called like the business quarter. So we've got one of the earliest 1886 when it was first constructed. It's the deepest as well. It's a mile deep. It goes right into the River Mersey from Birkenhead right to Liverpool, and it turned electric in 1903. And then in 1936 we had our first of our roadway tunnels, which was opened by King George V, which is the Queen's grandfather. And then in 1971, on June the 24th, the Queen opened the last but not least of our 3 tunnels. So we got a lot of tunnels, Chuck, as our senator would say. What's your name and where'd you come from? Doesn't like a bit of silver on a Thursday. So right in front of us here is the town hall, right at the end, on the right hand side, jutting out. You can see it there. It's also got a balcony. You see the balcony? On that balcony, on the 10th of July 1964, Lord Mayor stood there with 5,000 screaming girls screaming up at him. They all come to see him, you know. I think they were interested in the 4 lads with him, like it's the Beatles. And you'd be right in saying that the girls had all filled the whole of Liverpool because the Beatles were on the balcony waiting to them. The top 5 positions over there, never been done before, never been done since. Absolutely incredible. Not for themselves off the top spot anywhere. Yeah. So we're now talking in Beatles, we're coming to the Cabin, and this is Matthew Street on the left hand side. That's called, there's Matthew Street there. Just halfway down is the Cabin Club on the right hand side. We've got the Cabin Pub, which came later, on the left hand side. So we've got the Hard Day's Night Hotel. You see that one? Stuck with the statues there on the left hand side. Got George looking like Billy Connolly up there. I'm not quite sure if it's George or whether it's up anyhow. Yeah. So this is the shopping district, L1. Anybody want to stop? Yeah, we've got one at the top here. We've got 2 at the top. Any more offers? Any more stops? This is stop 4, isn't it? This is top. You want the cabin, don't you, in the shopping district? Yeah, this is it. Yeah, okay. So the Beatles actually played the cabin 292 times, believe it or not, in total. between February 23rd, 1961. Have a good time, guys. Probably see you later. Between February 23rd, 1961 and August the 3rd, 1963. And of course, it was a place where they met Brian Epstein for the first time. He actually heard about them through a young lad called Raymond Jones, who came into his store for a record called My Bonnie by the Beatles. Nobody had heard of them before. And Brian inquired and he said, these Beatles, he said, where do they come from? Are they from America? Are they from Africa? Are they from Botswana? And he said, no, they're 50 yards up the road to the cabin club. Unbelievable. And then of course, hello there, you okay? And of course, alright, of course history was made when Brian met them, wasn't it? Never look back after that. It's a good job you brought your backpacks with you. You need them for these stairs here, don't you? Yeah? Yeah? You were going to say something else then, yeah, just a bit, yeah. Can't you tell I'm a tour guide? Yeah. Just here to your left is the Victoria statue, and that's, well, she was only a very short lady in real life. She was only 4'8". We made a 7'9" there, just in case you missed it. And it was unveiled on 1901, and she died in 1900, the year before. She was the second longest reigning monarch in the UK. Our current queen is the longest, of course. And we call that the King Victoria Monument, for the obvious reason that if you look at it from a certain angle, it does look like a King Victoria. Especially if you keep your eye on the waistline and notice the slightly misplaced sceptre at the side of the waist. Especially from this angle. Yeah. Yeah, something to do with the angle of the angle. Yeah. So, King Victoria. There's the town hall where the Beatles stood with the Lord Mayor, and 5,000 screaming girls below on the 10th of July 1964. The man says he wasn't one of them, but I disbelieve him, so. Screams at me enough times. Get that bloody bed sorted out! So as we're going down to the rich part of the city, Liverpool's one of the richest cities way back in the 1800s, and the reason for that was because the sea captains were going on successful voyages. Many distant lands, you know, they pick up the produce, pick up the likes of the sugars from the Virginia fields in America, they pick up the tobaccos from the Virginia fields in America, they pick up the sugars from Barbados, they pick up the textiles from China, they pick up the cotton from India, and they pick up the fruit and veg from all over the world, and they deposit them just a little bit further down. You see where the pillar boxes are, just on the right hand side there. And just behind them are the exchanges, and that's where all the produce is being stored. So we would come back very rich men, because all these jobs making cakes and all sorts of jam, all those kind of things. So the Cathedral Pub actually started as a fruit and veg warehouse, and then in 1957 it was a jazz club. 3 years later it was a skiffle club, and then 2 years after that Mersey arrives on the scene. We have loads of bands, 500 bands, 500 in Liverpool alone, unbelievable. You have the likes of the Beatles, of course, the Swinging Blue Jeans, the Surgers, the Mojos, the Mersey Beats, Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, the Undertakers, the Foremost, still a Black Shoe, the band. And then of course you had this other band, this gentleman be so kind to all the microphones. I like it. I like the way you run, your biggest through my hair. And I like the way you talk to me, and I like the way you let me go. When your mama ain't there, when your mama ain't there, do that again. You're driving me insane, kiss me once more. That's another thing I like you for. I like it, yeah! Woo, thank you! Thank you very much, Al, thank you downstairs, thank you. Don't don't clap too loud, I might play another one. That was Jerry and the Pacemakers, of course. It wasn't really, it was me. Now, they had 3 number 1s in this country, absolutely amazing. 3 consecutive number 1s there. So we're now on William Brown Street. And William Brown Street was, he was a financier, and he actually invested in that wonderful building there. That's our museum. And it's got over 5 levels in there. And it's a fascinating place. It's got Egyptology, natural history. Right at the top is a planetarium even. Just here, just on our left, is the library, the Central Library. Another fascinating place, designed by James Picton. It's got the Frederick Hornby book collection in there. Right at the top is the Walker Art Gallery. That's where that's where Andrew Walker, he was a brewer, he invested in the building there in 1877. The library was opened in 1860, and the museum, of course, was opened in 1853. Looking to your left is the beautiful St. John's Garden. Now, as beautiful as it looks, there was a pandemic that broke out in Liverpool many years ago, a cholera pandemic, and it wiped out about a quarter of the population. You know, they were drinking this contaminated water. And would you believe that in the middle of that park, 27,000 bodies right in the middle where those statues are? I don't want to put you off going, you know, but it is a lovely park. Just don't take the dog for a walk. Just don't to your right is Dr. Duncan's pub. And Dr. Duncan was the UK's first appointed medical officer. What he advised him to do during the cholera pandemic was don't drink the water, drink the beer. Well, it's a lot safer. He's got a good point, hasn't he? Do you know what, guys? Well, it's basically you know, filtered, micro-filtered. You know, take all the nasties out, don't they? And do you know what? I've never had cholera. Never had it. Sorry. Right, okay, yes, probably, yeah. So over to your left here is St. George's Hall. This is the finest example of neoclassic architecture in the whole world. It's absolutely beautiful in there. It's got a banqueting hall, it's got a law court, and it's also got a dungeons for the criminally insane right at the bottom. Kept the locks off the doors, so don't worry about it. You can visit, you know, without being locked in. They only do it when I visit. It was built in 1854 by Harvey Lonsdale Elms, and Harry Potter films and Batman films have all been filmed there. It's absolutely amazing. Over to your right here is the Royal Court Theatre, and that's one of our 8 theatres in the city centre. It has all the local productions there. I'll give you an example. Around the corner they had Mamma Mia. Yeah, heard of that? Over here they had Mamma Mia. And still on, honest, Mamma Mia. And right at the top is the world's first commercial passenger railway station. That's Lime Street Station. That was built in 1836. It's got the first level. And this is the beautiful St. George's Plateau here. You see, this is where all the happy and sad occasions happen. For instance, when a certain team comes back with a cup, they line the streets like mad here, and they all climb up on the lampposts. I won't say which team, you know, don't want to start a fight. And also when the sad occasions happened, when John Lennon was assassinated back in 1980, he was over 7,000 singing the decent chants on his part. So it holds a lot of memories for different reasons. So as we're turning up the London Road here, this is the old coaching road to London, obviously, and it used to take 2 days in the summer and 3 days in the winter. And they used to change horses about 10 miles outside the city centre in a place called Prescott. So if you work out on average, you must have gone through about 20 horses by the time they got to London. They must have been totally exhausted by the time they got there. Yeah, they were. Yeah. You notice that I got my jokes from Tony Blackburn. It was the King of Corn over here. Not what you heard. So, this is the fabric quarter, or what was known as the fabric quarter. This is where all the Jewish tailors, they used to have all their businesses here. For instance, Hepworth's, Foster Brothers, and another name you might have heard of called John Collier. He used to be an old advert man to me. The dad says, oh, John Collier, there will go to watch. Yeah. No, nobody minded that. That's 1960. Yeah. So, we're now going through the lights. We're very lucky to get through them because they usually keep us for about half an hour. So we're now going up to Seymour Street. Taking a look to the left here in Seymour Street. This is some very fine Georgian architecture you see here to our left. This particular architecture was built around about the 1800. The Georgian period ran from 1714 until 1830. It reminds of King George IV. It's no wonder that Liverpool has now become the most filmed city in the whole of the UK, next to London and all. The reason being that all the TV and film companies, they all come up from London and they all want to film here because it's a lot cheaper for them to film here than it is filming London, you know. So they all come up here and they love that architecture as well because we've got loads of it. So, herbicide, fungicide, it's all made on Merseyside. So looking across the road, you'll see the earliest UK department store. That's David Lewis's. And up there is the Naked Man statue. That's Liverpool Resurgence, we call that. Us locals like to just call it Dickie Lewis. But it's 18 feet tall, he's a big lad. And it was built in 1956 by Jacob Epstein, the local sculptor. This commemorates exactly 100 years that the store had been in existence. It started in 1856. Paul McCartney was on Here's the Adelphi Hotel. Anybody staying in the Adelphi? Nobody downstairs? No? The Adelphi has been a very classy hotel in its day. It's had the likes of Winston Churchill, it's had the likes of Bill Clinton more recently, it's had the likes of George Washington, the old president, it's had the likes of Gregory Peck, Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr., the Beatles, of course, the Black, Roy Rogers and the Horse Trigger. I know it made me laugh then. Just imagine when we got the car back. This is Brownlow Hill, and way back in 1847 there was an Irish potato famine that happened, and so bad it knocked out all their crops, and the Irish Catholics came over here looking for work, of course. Well, along this length of this hill here to our right, this is where the old workhouse used to be. The workhouse had only so many jobs, only about 4,000 jobs, so there's 30,000 of the Irish Catholics running that jobs, but they did settle, and in time they wanted a cathedral. In 1933, there was a guy called Edward Richards. He was a that's what they call the crypt now. And in 1933 they started building. 1939 war broke out, so they had to down the tools, they had to shelve it, and of course they ran out of money. Couldn't build it anymore. So it is a permanent memorial to World War II and what could have been the world's largest cathedral. The Irish Catholics did get their cathedral in the end, you'll be pleased to know. I'll just let you know that to your left here is the world's first red brick university, and this was built by Alfred Waterhouse. He went on to build many more in the UK, including Manchester's, Bristol's, Nottingham's, Leeds, Newcastle's, Edinburgh, all these places. It was built in 1887. It's now a museum to the original university, because the operating university is just across the road now. It has got some fascinating exhibitions in there. One of them includes World War I dentures, right at the top of all things. Yeah, very, very interesting and very unique. Yeah. So, as we turn the corner, the earliest Catholics did build a cathedral in 1860. He built it in 5 years, October 62 to May 67, and they called it the Metropolitan Cathedral of Christ the King. When we saw that for the first time, we called it Mary's So just across to your left here, if you go through that alleyway, it leads to an old hospital, and that's where Oxford Street Maternity Hospital is, and that's where on October the 9th, 1940, John Lennon was born during an air raid. Yeah. On the back to the cathedral, you got the canopy of glass right at the top there. 25,000 pieces of coloured glass that is made of. When you get in there on a lovely day like today, the effect is absolutely stunning, absolutely amazing. Almost coloured, kaleidoscopic colours. There's the 4 bells and the bell tower there. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Paul, George and Ringo singers as well. And this is Hope Street with 2 cathedrals, the only street with 2 cathedrals either end in the world. There's the Everyman Theatre on the corner, on the left hand side. That's where Julie Walters started her acting career, and Mr. Bond, Daniel Craig, that's where he started his acting career there. Now if you take a look over to your right, just a bit further ahead, that's the Harmonic dining rooms. Now I can't recommend that place highly enough. It is the most unique pub, or the most ornate pub that you will ever go into. I tell you what, put money on it, and it's the best pub you'll ever set foot in. It started off as a gentleman's club in 1900, and it's like a palace in there. It's absolutely beautiful. The good news is you've got a free voucher to go in there and have a sales glass of bubbly. No, it is a glass of bubbly. It's where Paul McCartney played his secret gig with James Corden's Liverpool Field years ago. Nobody knew he was coming. And just to our left here is Faulkner Street. That's where all the Victorian films are done, or Victorian productions. Batman, Sherlock Holmes, Peaky Blinders, Harry Potter, House of Time, they're all filmed. Just to our right is John College, that's where he studied. Well, I say he studied, that's where he studied for 3 years. Just next door to it is the Liverpool Institute. That's where Paul McCartney and George Harrison used to go to school. Paul McCartney was impressed, by the way, with his old school. He came back and bought it. He called it Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts. It's now a musical dance school. He comes back every summer to give the successful students their diplomas. He came back from Brazil. So over here to your left is the beautiful Anglican Cathedral. Anybody want this bus stop? Anybody want the bus stop? No? Nobody wants it? No. Well, this is it's the 5th largest cathedral in the world, that is. And it's made of local sandstone. It's got the highest vaulted archway in there, the loudest, highest bells. And it's also took 74 years to build, believe it or not, that. From 1904, didn't finish until 1978. Yeah. What's amazing is a 22-year-old built it, Giles Gilbert Scott. Unfortunately, he didn't live long enough to see his creation. aviation finish. But if you thought that was amazing, he decided to build red telephone boxes we see on that street walls here. Doctors, and also now and again the plastic surgeons. You see that guy there with the sack on his back? You see him there? Yeah, no, him there, just on the left hand side with the white gloves on. Yeah, can you see him? I used to go to school with her. Looking good, didn't she? Plastic surgeon, yeah. Some of the famous people that called me is Big Booth. He was the MD, managing director, world's first commercial officer, was station of course, Wales Street. Stein was also born on Rodney Street, and before he was the Beatles manager. Taking a look to your left, you'll see St. Luke's Church, or the bombed out church as we call it, because during the May Blitz of 1941 it was totally gutted by an incendiary device. Basically, it was just left as a permanent memorial, as it was to World War II. You know, you're right. You okay? You have a good time? Oh, you're just back. You're just back. Okay. Oh, we haven't found the seat yet. You nearly ended up over the back of the bus then. So this is it's the bombed out church. It wasn't just left to burn, basically, as a permanent memorial to World War II. Just in front of it is World War I statue. That's the German officer shaking hands with the British officer there on the garden. And it's a good day of peace, basically. It was Christmas Day 1914. But they decided to have a game of football. There was nothing wrong with that, of course. Sorry? Yes, that is definitely what's between them. That's a football among the poppies. There was nothing wrong with that. The only problem was every time that German guy headed the ball, did you notice? Got your point? I think they did as well. Yeah. So, needless to say that the football didn't last long. So, now heading into Chinatown. Chinatown, well, Liverpool has the earliest link to China. To 1790, when the Blue Funnel Line used to set sail. We used to go all the way to China, of course, and bring back the Chinese sailors. And they settled here on some skip ship. And this is Chinatown at the end of the road here, just on the right. And that wonderful archway you can see across the road there, that's the largest archway outside of mainland China. Came here flat-packed. We weren't having any of the Scousers put the green tunics and boats in, or they knew what they were doing there. They brought their tech team. And it was given to us by the very kind people of Shanghai, because we have the earliest links with China, all the way back to 1790. And that brown building you can see just on the side of it is a Welsh Presbyterian Church. Now what part of Chinatown isn't complete without a Welsh Presbyterian, I ask you? It only happened in Liverpool. Yeah. That's actually a Welsh Presbyterian, but it's that's why we call us the world in one city. And that's why we're very cosmopolitan people, very welcoming people, as you might have gathered. We're a quarter Irish, yeah. We're a quarter Scottish, just under a quarter Welsh. We mix all the other communities and still here and end up sounding like this. Yeah. Mickey Mouse style of the book, yeah. So, as we're just going down this road, we're picking up some more passengers. And just past the mini market, you'll be able to see it in a minute, is a very old church. I'm going to point out a very old church for you. The church in question is a Scandinavian church, and the Scandinavians are another community that settled here as far back as 1830 they settled here. So the church coming into view now, just over the rooftops there, very old church, 1830 that was built. And the Scandinavians were all Scouse. He said, no, we're called New Scouse. So just because of a misunderstanding and mishearing, we thought they said this at Scouse, but we're actually called Scousers ever since. So we're actually named after a hot pot without the lid on. Unbelievable. Could have been worse, might have been blancmange, can't stand that stuff. So over here to your right is Wedding House, and that's got many exhibits in there. You've got the bridegrooms on the first floor, so if any of you girls, you know, want a bridegroom, that's the place to go. Usually a bit stuffy, like, you know, they don't say much. Stand like that all day. One lady on the bus amused me yesterday. She said, "That's just the way I like them." Don't know what kind of partner she wanted. But of course they have the bridal outfits on the second floor there. And just on the end there, that beautiful painting is actually created by John Coleshaw. He's a very well-known local artist, and he specialises in that kind of thing, wall art. He's fantastic, you know. He's just finished one for Ringo Starr, well, one of Ringo Starr, I should say, and it's on the side of the Empress Pub, which is up in Toxteth. And it's absolutely immaculate. It looks exactly like him. He doesn't have any plan or anything. He just gets up the ladder, comes down the ladder, just goes in the next paint, you know. He doesn't have a plan, he just does it. He doesn't stand back, and it's up like that. It's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And so the Ringo Starr one's on the side of the pub just to keep the kids away from the pub. Poor Ringo. So over there to your left is St James's Church. That's one of the oldest churches. Established, and in 1851 Robert Kane, he'd come over from Ireland in 1850. He was a brewer from Ireland, established a brewery in 1850. Shelby does all this filming around the back of Kane's Brewery in the Garrison Pub. If you've seen it, you know the Garrison Pub in the series? Yes? It doesn't matter if you haven't seen it, don't worry. No, it's alright. The Garrison Pub, that's where it's filmed around the back of Robert Kane's Brewery anyway. So just across there is the Queen's Dock. Just over to our left is the Queen's Dock. That was given to Princess Charlotte on her 18th birthday by a very generous father, man King George III. Well, it must have been man, because all she wanted was the car. Oh, Dad, won't you give me the old ox for? All he wanted was the car. You could just imagine it, couldn't you? And now behind these trees, the trees of Spain, if you will, spelled the old view, of a place called the Keel. You might have spotted it while we were at the traffic light. You see it, a brown building set back off the road, the Keel. It's nothing spectacular, but there it is, the Keel. It's actually an apartment block these days, but before 2008, it was the old tax office. Side is what we call the pepper pot. This curious structure here. The pepper pot is an old police station, never been decommissioned. No. So in effect it still is a police station. Now all my lifetime I've never seen one busy coming in or out of there. We call them the busies here, the cops. I've never seen one busy, neither has been that. I remember the kept on stealing men used to be that small, isn't it? We've got that little tower for the diggy criminals as well, right at the top. You can just imagine our Ken saying, "Why, Joe, this will be Dave, standing on top of the heaven on the Gibraltar's on. Oh, I know what this is. Why, Joe, you wouldn't have got some cool to your cheeks." He's totally off his rocker, that Ken. He's a Liverpool comedian. Yeah, totally off his rocker. Ken was actually surprisingly the top #1 in 1965. He beat the Beatles as in the most sales over in the UK, and they were at the top of their game. You know, it was unbelievable. Show you this bit here. This is our Mersey River. The beautiful Mersey that you've heard of. Once had a reputation for being one of the dirtiest rivers in the UK. It's now one of the cleanest. Totally clean. And it's been the subject of many songs as well. Including Ferry Cross the Mersey, of course, the obvious choice. But you might have heard Amy Winehouse's song, Valerie. Do you remember? Sometimes I go out on the water. Used to have that line. That was actually written by the Zootons, the Liverpool band. So it was all about the Mersey. I think she sang it all the time because she's a good girl. She sang about the Mersey. And just across there, you can see that white factory over there, almost white factory anyway, just across the river. That is the Wirral. Crikey, he's nearly coming out with his bike there. That's the Wirral over there, and that factory you can see over there is the old ships, you know, really classy ships like the HMS Ark Royal, they built that in 1938. The HMS Renown, which they built in February 1967. And they also built more recently Boating and Boatface. Boating and Boatface. And it was called Sir David Attenborough. Of course, it became the exploratory ship. Some bright little 10 years old. Sir David Attenborough. Oh yeah, why didn't we think of that before? Yeah, so it's called the Sir David Attenborough. Anyway, guys, we're almost near the end of our tour, but I'd like to thank you for coming all along, and hope you've liked it. I hope you've liked it. If you have, I would ask you a nice little favour. We've got a little red tip hat down below, down by my driver, Susie. If you haven't, we've still got the red tip hat down below, but it would be appreciated. Thank you very much. And also, if you want to leave us a little mention on TripAdvisor, do that by all means. If you've enjoyed it, if you haven't, don't go anywhere near TripAdvisor. Just stay away. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it, guys.